When I first watched this episode, it was my least favorite of the bunch, but after rewatching all the episodes, it's overtaken the Star Beast in my eyes for one simple reason. One Shurigatwa-shaped reason. Oh my lord, he's so charismatic in this role. I can tell right off the cuff that he's perfect casting for the Doctor. And I will admit, I was very skeptical when I first saw the announcement that the guy from Sex Education was going to be the next Doctor Who. But hot damn, those misgivings have been thoroughly cast aside. The Church on Ruby Road is, in many ways, the most important of the 4 specials because it's basically meant to be the pilot to Doctor Who's new era. It's basically RTD's 2023 version of Rose. And there are a lot of parallels between the 2 episodes. The episode is initially told from the companion's POV. The Doctor is portrayed as being especially mysterious, and he wears a leather jacket. The new companion in question has a surprise encounter with him in which he saves her life. After this point, the Doctor keeps popping up in her life because she's now at the center of an alien threat to humanity, which culminates in someone important in her personal life getting kidnapped by aliens. Though she's initially frustrated with the Doctor for his blasé attitude, she quickly becomes fascinated with the mystery of who he is. The episode's antagonist takes a backseat to the building relationship of the 2 leads and ends up just being a blobby, lumpy guy who can't talk and just makes hissing noises. The episode ends with the companion leaving her loved ones behind and running into the TARDIS. Obviously, Rose and Ruby are somewhat similar, and I'm not just talking about them both being blondes that have a first name beginning with R. They're both characters who lack something important in their lives, and they find it through the Doctor. For the first 19 years of Rose's life, nothing happened, and then she met her uncle, the Doctor.
For the first 19 years of my life, nothing happened, and then I met a man called the Doctor.
Rob! Some of the parallels between the 2 episodes are definitely intentional. In fact, there are some outright homages in here. In the scene when the Doctor rescues Ruby from the Snowman of Death, does this building seem familiar at all? Because it should. It was that building. It was the Rose building. They did a really good job of renovating it after it blew up. And sure, it's true that Doctor Who is no stranger to reusing sets, but I don't think this one was a coincidence. So, with all these parallels in mind, does Ruby Road do as good a job as Rose of introducing a new era of the show? Well, that's a difficult question to answer for 2 reasons. One, I don't actually like Rose as an individual episode all that much because it feels fairly bland by today's Who standards, and also it has this hideous walking shot. And 2, the reason Rose feels bland by today's Who standards is because it effectively reinvented the wheel. The Who wheel. Everything about Rose, and Series 1 for that matter, was written to feel as different from Doctor Who's classic series as it possibly could. I suspect that, as a child, there were certain things Russell wanted to see in Doctor Who that it just wasn't delivering on, so when he finally had the reins, it was wish fulfillment time. Stories used to be long, slow, and dialogue heavy. Now they're short, fast, and more action-packed than ever. We used to see essentially nothing of the companions' lives and relationships outside of the TARDIS. Now their home lives are a core aspect of the show. There used to be no hanky-panky in the TARDIS, but now there is.
You telling me you do dance?
900 years old, me. I've been around a bit. I think you can assume at some point I've danced.
You?
Well, I've got the moves, but I wouldn't want to boast.
The Doctor always used to save the day at the end of each story, no strings attached. But now, if he isn't careful, by defeating the baddies, he might accidentally create a power vacuum by ousting the incumbent regime, opening the door for an even worse regime to take control, leading to a follow-up story a few episodes later where he has to confront his own mistakes.
Last time I was here, I put it right.
No, but that's when it first went wrong. All the news channels, they just shut down overnight.
I did that.
There was nothing left in their place. No information. The whole planet just froze. That was the start of it. 100 years of hell.
I made this world.
So yeah, Russell changed things up. Rose is to Doctor Who as Ocarina of Time is to 3D adventure games. It seems a bit bland today, but that's only because it set down the foundations that everything after it copied. The notable difference being that Ocarina of Time still holds up really well, and Rose is a tad aged. So when we look at the church on Ruby Road as a pilot to a new era of the show, I can't really pretend as if it's all that different from anything we've already seen. Apart from the fantasy and musical elements on display, which, I will admit,
that is a first.
This episode kind of just feels like more of the same. Ironically, even by today's standards, Rose still feels more risque in places, especially in how dark it makes the Doctor's character.
Look, if I did forget some kid called Mickey...
Yeah, it's not a kid.
Because I'm busy trying to save the life of every stupid ape blundering about on top of this planet, alright?
Okay, so it's not exactly a bold new direction for the show. Whatever. It can still be a good episode on its own merits, right? Well, yes, it could have been, but it's kinda not. The story of the episode is that goblins are trolling Ruby. They target Ruby because there are a lot of coincidences in her life.
Hello, Ruby Sunday. And it's a Sunday right now. That's a coincidence.
And they like coincidences. They eat coincidences for breakfast. That and babies. Ruby doesn't know who her mom is, so she tries to turn to reality TV to give her the answers she desperately craves. Classic mistake.
You are the father.
But they're useless and the goblins make a Christmas tree fall on the show's host.
There is no trace of your mum or dad.
And next time, it might be...
The Doctor catches on to the fact that the goblins are messing with Ruby at some point off screen and starts stalking her to make sure she's okay. Fast forward a little bit and Ruby is babysitting. The goblins break into her house and take the baby so that they can eat it, as goblins do.
Do you know why they call them goblins? Because they like to gobble you up.
Leading to a chase sequence. Oh, did I say chase sequence? I meant song.
Cause the Goblin King, oh the Goblin King, it's so good to meet you, you great big thing.
The Doctor and Ruby manage to get their baby back, but as revenge, the goblins go back in time and eat Ruby as a baby.
Ruby? Where did she go? Who's Ruby? Your daughter.
Now the orphan children that Ruby helped raise are gone and the world is a worse place.
You fostered 33.
Don't be so stupid. That's too much like hard work. 800 quid per child.
Don't say that.
Really hammering it home there.
I think you got me mixed up with someone else. Because there is no Ruby. It's just me, stuck with my old mum.
Yeah, I got it. She's miserable now.
Up here in the attic, and I'm busy. This little brat arrives ruining my holiday.
I am getting it, thank you.
Christmas Day, Mum's asleep by 3. And I'll be all on my own.
I too love subtlety. So the Doctor also goes back in time and stabs the Goblin King with a church spire. Because symbolism? And then the ship disappears and the Doctor catches baby Ruby. Would have been really awkward if the baby had been in a different part of the ship that wasn't directly over top of the Doctor. That would have been a big yikes. Oh, and I noticed while editing that, again, they cut the shot of him catching the baby wrong, so you can see that he was already holding it before he lowers his arms. You just have to cut a few more frames off, and it'll work. You're killing me here, editor. Then the Doctor sees Ruby's mysterious mom, but decides not to learn anything about who she is because he's a dick. 12 would not approve. So that's the plot of the episode, and if you couldn't tell from that summary, it's very goofy. I guess I'm just curious as to why Russell decided to make the launching pad to his new era this juvenile. It can be hard to even make sense of at points.
If you have lots of accidents, it stitches you in, it weaves you into the day, you become all complicated and knotted and vivid.
I've literally no idea what any of that means. The Teletubbies parallels don't just end at the TARDIS.
Tell us, who have you played before?
I'm Poe from the Teletubbies.
Look at that! Poe from Teletubbies, can you believe it? Unbelievable.
It's all connected. I suppose any of the plot's contrivances could be countered by the fact that the goblins love coincidences, so any coincidences in this episode's plot are intentional. But to me at least, a story that's reliant on fantasy, coincidences, and, let's be honest, random shit, feels a little overly juvenile even for Doctor Who standards. I mean, I know Doctor Who is a kid's show and all, but when people say that, what they really mean is that it's a family show. It's meant to appeal to all ages so the whole family can snuggle in and watch it on the telly together. This episode, however, feels like it's aiming at a really, really low age demographic, and I personally don't think that that was the best idea. If you recall, I had the same issue with the Chibnall era. Episodes had paper-thin concepts, live, laugh, love characters, and baby's first lessons to finish off an episode delivered almost patronizingly by the Doctor directly to the audience themselves.
On the 21st of December 1956, segregation on buses in Montgomery was ended.
It took so long though. her whole life.
You want me to tell you that Earth's gonna be okay? Because I can't. Unless people face facts and change. Catastrophe is coming. Tesla keeps on inventing, but no money, no fame. That's not right. People should know.
Doctor, who's that? It's John Lennon. And in 1980, he was shot outside his apartment building for no reason. That's so not cool. Shooting people's wrong. I agree with Ryan, shooting people is wrong. Many viewers above the age of 10 felt alienated by this, and even viewers under the age of 10 weren't watching because they were busy playing Fortnite, because at least Fortnite is fun. As we saw then, aiming the show exclusively at kids does not pay off in the long term. And even though this episode isn't quite as bad as the Chibnall era in this regard, I think the issue is still present. Look, I'll be the first to admit that I've always wanted Doctor Who to attempt something really out there, like a musical episode, specifically one in the style of Labyrinth.
Dance, magic dance, magic dance, magic dance.
Even though obviously they can't get David Bowie, but still. That's always been on my wish list, so the fact that we actually got an episode with singing goblins and a Goblin King kind of makes me feel as if Russell has found a way to hack into my brain. But despite this, the episode's sheer level of cringe, combined with the fact that the music isn't actually all that good, sort of prevents me from enjoying the episode as much as I would have otherwise. And yes, I said it, the Goblin song is bad. I can hear the autotune in every note. Send me your hate mail. Even beyond this, there are other aspects of this episode that kind of throw me off. I feel like the execution just isn't as good here as it was in prior episodes. The pacing, especially near the beginning, feels off. Like, we get a scene with Ruby encountering bad luck at an interview, and then we smash cut to another scene of her getting bad luck at a concert that lasts for like 20 seconds before we're hit over the head with another scene of her encountering bad luck at a club. And considering we don't even know this character yet, it doesn't really flow very well. It just feels like a barrage of information. One thing I put a lot of stock into is character introductions. After all, first impressions are everything. Something as small as the first shot a character appears in can color how an audience views them. Cake. Is this character powerful, mysterious, evil, innocent, intimidating, unassuming, or at least so the writers would like you to think? Bob's your uncle. I understand that Ncuti Gatwa does appear at the end of The Giggle, but based on my understanding, this is the episode that's supposed to be the jumping on point for new viewers, so a lot of people's first impression of the Doctor is going to be this. First he's watching her from afar, and then he's dancing in the bar she's in, and then he teleports over to her just in time to catch her drink. Look, I know he's a Time Lord and all, but how the fuck did he do that? And again, they edited the shot wrong, so you can see he was already holding the glass before he lowers his hand. This is just getting sloppy at this point, Now, for comparison, here's how the 9th Doctor was introduced in Rose. That was the perfect entrance for him as a character. I can't imagine any moment that could have thematically summed up their relationship better than that. Meanwhile, in this episode, the first time Ruby sees the Doctor is when he's dancing at a bar during a dance montage. Really? That's their first interaction? And then the Doctor makes things even worse by getting all creepy with her.
Does that happen to you a lot? Knocking things over?
I'm just clumsy.
No, you're not. It's worse than that. Merry Christmas.
I would run away immediately. I think the first time Ruby, and by extension us, saw the Doctor in this episode should have been when he caught her drink. It would have made for a much more meaningful and impactful entrance into the story as opposed to these awkward stitched-on shots of him standing somewhere. Why even bother showing him at all? He doesn't do anything, and I don't even know where he is relative to her because of the lack of establishing shots. It just feels really awkward and clunky. I understand that the point is to convey that the Doctor is watching over Ruby, but that could have been conveyed through subtext. Maybe you see the TARDIS in the background of one of the scenes, or some other subtle indicator the Doctor is there without literally showing him. Either way, it's already implied the Doctor was watching over her by having him show up at the club, so stamping him over prior scenes just doesn't really feel needed. To me, this is a textbook example of poor editing, wherein an editor wants to show something, but they don't really have a clever way to introduce it into the scene, scene, so they just smash cut to it even if it's completely disconnected from what's going on. The all-time most infamous example of this can be found in Ed Wood's magnum opus, Plan 9 from Outer Space. Sometimes in the middle of a scene, the movie will just randomly cut to a shot of Vampira or fake Bela Lugosi, for seemingly no reason other than to remind you that they exist.
Now you stay close to the officer, honey.
I'd feel safer with you.
Now the lieutenant knows best.
And no, in case you're wondering, they're not even in the same location as the other characters. You'll watch through the whole scene waiting for them to become relevant, but they never do. Now, obviously this episode's editing is not nearly as bad as Plan 9 from Outer Spaces, but I really feel as if these unnecessary shots seriously cheapen his actual entrance into the episode. Yes, in the grand scheme of things this may sound fairly minor, but Rose just does so much better of a job introducing a brand new audience to this character.
I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life.
On that note, the directing throughout the entire episode is very bizarre in places, and there are way too many uncomfortable close-up shots for my taste.
Hold on. You mean now?
Today, Christmas Eve!
That's amazing!
I was foundled. I love that.
You'd think this was directed by someone who worked on the Chibnall era. Oh. Okay then. Even with all of this being said, there are aspects of this episode that I like. It has a heart, it's fun, we're finally getting a Christmas special for the first time since Chibnall decided he hates Christmas.
There can only be one Chris on Doctor Who. Fuck out of here, Santa.
But like Rose, as an individual episode, I don't think it's really something to write home about, which is a shame because Ncuti's Doctor absolutely is. He is so charismatic and loquacious, holy moly.
Last time I saw Doctor, he tried to murder me, so you stay away.
Oh. Even his laugh, man. That's a Time Lord's laugh right there. You know that video you just watched? Well, guess what? It was actually a snippet from a larger video that you can watch here, if you have the time. I mean, I guess it's up to you. I would recommend you watch it, but you know, it's your call. I mean, I don't have time to wait on you anyways. I got birds to feed. But please watch it.